What a wonderful day it is to be alive and healthy. I am super excited that you join me here on the You Are Buzzworthy podcast. I say that I'm happy to be healthy because I haven't always been a healthy entrepreneur. In fact, after I separated from the Air Force, I didn't have any health insurance for at least 8 years. And then when I finally was able to get health care options for my company, this thing called the Affordable Care Act, I'm using air quotes if you are not seeing me on video. The Affordable Care Act jettisoned insurance prices, specifically group insurance prices for small businesses, beyond anything I could afford, which forced me to give up our group health insurance for me and my team. And then I had to point them to the ACA website. If you've ever been to one of those, you know what kind of nightmare that is, which then robbed me of what the larger firms could offer. And then the downward spiral ensued. I don't want that for you. And so we are going to chat about this subject today. And to help me is Barby Ingle, a best-selling author and reality personality living with multiple rare and chronic diseases. Barby is a chronic pain educator, patient advocate, and president of the International Pain Foundation. She is also a motivational speaker and best-selling author on pain topics. Her blog, reality shows, and media appearances are used as a platform to help her become an award-winning patient advocate. And she is here today to help me shed some light on healthcare for entrepreneurs. Welcome to the show, Barby.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share, and I know that your listeners will get a lot out of this, so let's jump right into it.
Okay. Then the obvious question is, what is the biggest challenge entrepreneurs face when dealing with healthcare for themselves and for their employees?
As you said, the Affordable Care Act did go into effect, and everybody thinks now that it's universal. Everybody has health care, and it is actually not happening. The biggest challenge that entrepreneurs are facing and those running these small and medium-sized companies is that they think that all of the health challenges that their employees and themselves are going to face are covered under these plans, and they're absolutely not. You're getting the basics when you get these affordable care plans or even small business plans. And when you have patients that live with a chronic disease or a rare disease that need to get care and attention or preventative care for all of your employees, it's just not there. It's not readily available. And the individual employees find themselves having to pay a lot more out of pocket. But at the same time, it goes against your organization who is covering these employees. And when you go to get that information or get that bill for the next year, that your premiums go up, even though it's supposed to be, like you said, affordable with the air quotes. So I
remember when it hit the first year, I think we squeaked by, and we did it by reducing or actually increasing deductibles and stuff like that. I think we squeaked by with maybe a 20% increase. And then the second year, we hit 30% on top of that. And then the third year, they were threatening another 20 to 25% increase on top of that, year over year for 3 years straight. And that by that third year, I was like, we could either pay everybody's health insurance bill or we can pay everybody's salaries. We were just kind of stuck in that space.
Absolutely. And even when you are choosing to pay for health insurance, you probably have to lower the number of people working for you. But if you choose to pay that 20 and then 30% and the increases, and as you present patterns to the people who are supplying the insurance, after 3 years, they say, okay, now we can ding you even more for all the people that do have a rare disease or chronic illness. And that's 1 in 3 people here in America live with a chronic illness. 1 in 10 have a rare disease. So their bills are even higher. It's going to impact you, what you can provide. And it's only continuing to cover basic care, not even the down nitty-gritty care that a person with a rare disease or a chronic illness needs. So they're paying a lot of out of pocket on top of that anyway. It might be better to assist with getting them a better salary and let them go to the marketplace themselves as an individual to find a care insurance program that helps them, and or they can choose as an employee to go to a concierge service, which is something that I use, where I pay a flat fee to my primary care doctor, who can set bones in his office, do casts, x-rays, stitches, lab draws for blood
like
tests.
A family doctor, like the old school family doctors.
The old school family doctor, get a concierge service, pay that fee. And a lot of the basic care can be in that. It's anywhere between $1,200 and $2,400 a year, but it's all included. And oftentimes, if you have a parent with children, the children are free if the parent pays for their concierge service for themselves. So it can really benefit a whole family, but it also takes that burden off of the employers who are only getting a basic coverage for their in the first place.
It's like catastrophic. Like, it's almost, from what I'm hearing, it's very common for employers to basically just get catastrophic insurance coverage for, especially for their younger employees, which they have to give the same thing for everybody, or they give the tiers. But like for us, we said, okay, we'll split it with you. If you qualify, it's 50-50, because that way we know that you'll use it. Because if you don't pay for it, I find that people don't use it. So we're saying, hey, okay, we want you to have a little bit of skin in the game, in yards. We had to get really creative because there was things like dental that ACA didn't touch, and dental coverage and eye care coverage kept going up and up as well. I ended up self-insuring for all of my employees who were getting our regular healthcare coverage. So I was like, hey, listen, I will pay 100%, 2 cleanings a year. You get x-rays once a year, panos every 2 years. We had the plan out, and we would pay for the cosmetic procedures for every year up to a certain amount. And we did the math. We came out ahead, and everybody got what they needed from their dental. But you can't do that with insurance as much anymore, unless you do basically what you're saying is like, we're going to pay you some more and then you can go out there. But I'm wondering, can you even do that as an employer to say, okay, if you don't take our insurance, we'll pay you more. If you take the insurance, we're going to pay you less. Can you do that legally? Do you know?
No, you're supposed to give everybody the same. So if you're paying for coverage for one employee, you're supposed to pay for all the employees, whether they're using it or not. So it would have to be a choice between, okay, we're going to offer this coverage. Some of you may use it, some of you may not, or all of you can get an increase in your salary and you're responsible for getting this coverage on your own. And I personally do a lot of gig work on the side. I've published books, and I do a lot of videos and explainer videos and graphics for people. And in doing that, I found that having my own coverage is definitely more beneficial for me, because I could go in and say, okay, I want this cancer coverage, or I don't need cancer coverage. No one in my family has a history of cancer. I'll be okay with that. Or I need diabetes coverage, or whatever condition you have, you can say a little bit easier on your own, what medications am I going to need? Does this prescription plan cover what I need and what my family needs, versus having a universal plan underneath your employer? It can be, like you said, great for catastrophic injuries and illnesses that come about. But overall, for acute situations, it can be okay. For chronic long-term, it's going to always be a challenge.
So can we, as employers, when we're presenting our compensation package, and say I've gone to my whole staff and I said, okay, we've got these 2 options. Either I pay for everybody and this is what we get for everybody, or I don't offer this and then we pay more. Now, for the new people coming in, not knowing this little situation, can we as employers put in our compensation package basically something like healthcare allowance or health insurance allowance? Can we show that people, like, hey, part of your salary is supposed to go to whatever you deem you need for healthcare insurances? Do you know if that's something we can do?
We encourage individualizing care. And so if you're doing it for all of your employees equally, then you can do that. It's just, if you segregate it out and say, okay, we're going to do some insurance for some employees and not for others, and people can choose, that becomes a problem, and you don't want to be doing that. So yeah, you definitely, it has to be everybody's getting the exact same thing. And you could give us all this health allowance, but how we choose to spend it will be individualized to what we need in our life. Some people are blessed and they never have health issues and they live 100 years and they're totally fine and die of natural causes, but 1 in 3 people aren't going to have it that easy.
No, I get you. So we heard you talk about the concierge, which is a really good individual opportunity. Are there other solutions companies with under 100 employees can take advantage of if they're dealing with this huge expense that is basically strangling them?
You can get a concierge service that does telehealth and have it be known to your employees, hey, telehealth is an option. A lot of times it will save you money, time, effort, and energy to use telehealth versus getting in your car or having somebody else have to take off work to take you to a doctor appointment. To be able to do a video chat with a nurse practitioner or a doctor, they have these telehealth services where they can send packages to your employees that have a oxygen monitor and a Fitbit type of device, and they can do preventative care on top of the telehealth video appointments and say, okay, yeah, that nodule in your throat that you're showing me on camera is a little suspicious. You actually need to go in to see a doctor. But a lot of times a person just needs to, hey, doc, I did this to my, they can't see an x-ray on the screen, but they can see if it's out of shape or if it's swollen or bruised or that type of thing. And they can give you a better guide that would be cheaper. And using that telehealth service can definitely lower your expenses and be a service that an employer can provide to their employees as a benefit.
Yeah, I'm sure you can get a pretty good discount if you're buying it for multiple people.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of ways you can let people
utilize that while they're at work. So instead of having to call in sick and use sick time or paid personal time, you could just like, hey, listen, we've got this room over here. Everything's in there that you're going to need for our telehealth, and boom, I love that. Are there any other types of solutions, alternate solutions to the generic ACA, or actually I'm not even ACA, but group health insurance for employers that they can utilize to show that they care but make sure that they stay on budget?
Get preventative projects into place. Like, hey, this month we're going to focus on how we eat or the exercise that we're doing, or even the shake machines. They're real right now. Those shake machines can help if someone has a 15-minute break and they go stand on that for 10 to 15 minutes and get that blood flowing through their body. It's great to increase the oxygen supply in your body and can help you concentrate more, lower your blood pressure, help with cardiovascular health. So doing some of those preventative things around your office, or even just giving out a monthly message of, hey, this month, remember heart health, or remember diabetes awareness. Are you watching the things that you're putting into your body? Why these things matter? And just giving a quick preventative tip that can help their employees put those things in the forefront of their mind on a daily basis themselves, and take some of that responsibility on themselves so that you don't run up larger bills with things that could have been prevented. And it will help keep your rates for insurance at a lower level because they don't have that high or higher bills coming in than if they did no preventative. If we do no preventative measure, it really affects us. So it's definitely something an employer can do to help lower rates, is just give out tips and reminders.
Gotcha. So basically an active preventative plan of just education, involvement. I could see some people, if they have just a handful of people, giving the opportunity for people to have things like standing treadmill desks. I've seen those.
Yes, standing versus sitting desks, or ability to slide the desk up and down as needed.
Oh, yes. I have 2 of those myself. I feel that my posture is actually getting better. And everybody knows when your posture gets better, your blood flow gets better, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah. So, and then we have the telemedicine on that. So if something comes up, we can shortcut the time, energy, and money it takes to get those small things out of the way. We don't sit in a room, a doctor's office forever, it seems. Oh, my appointment's at 1. Yes, we will
Yes.
see you at 2. But if you don't show up 1, we're giving
You're
up your
charged, right?
right?
And
Obviously,
there's germs in those doctors' offices because that's where the sick people go.
That too, yeah. That's
So
true.
you're cutting out, they may have an injury or something acute happening. Acute means short happening to them. And they could go have a video call with a doctor or nurse practitioner, and they're not getting exposed to something even worse than what they're
Right.
already dealing with.
We're dealing with that at COVID. Everybody's got a
Yes.
mask up into there because they didn't want to spread it and they actually keeping people out of the hospital that didn't absolutely have to be in the hospital, and we didn't know what was going on with that. So we could sit here, I feel like, all day and come up with all of these alternative solutions to the standard group healthcare insurance for businesses with under 100 employees, because the game changes at about 100.
Exactly.
And so for all of the listeners with less than 100 employees, what are the first steps to establishing a better healthcare situation for their businesses?
Prevention and communication. So letting them know and understand, plan ahead for when you do have these acute situations, so that the things that need to be done as a business can continue to get done. Have a plan in place for that, but also doing the preventative work. It's up to each individual employee to maintain their health on an everyday, daily basis, acute level, as best as possible, so that when you do have a situation arise, it doesn't take the whole team down or hurt the company that you need to be out for a day or 2 or a week, that things can continue on. And having that plan in place is really important. So I would say prevention and communication.
So if we're getting started with that, is that a matter of sitting down with all the employees you currently have and maybe taking a survey of what they have, how do they feel about what is being provided now, and what would they love to see added to or maybe instead of? Is that something that we can do to maybe jumpstart this process?
That would be great. And you don't have to, you can, at your weekly or monthly meeting, you can say, hey, we're going to be putting out this survey monkey, and just fill it in, let us know. And I wouldn't necessarily ask specifically about what diseases and conditions you have, but
Right.
What do we offer that you love, that you couldn't live without, what do we have that we could lose? I think those are great questions. And I think it would be very interesting for an employer to see what the health is of their employees, and maybe not even just their employees, but the employees' families. If you're a small business, but you're covering your your employees and their family members, not just the employee with care, you need to know what's going on in their families outside of your office as well, because that's going to affect what's happening in your office.
Boom. There you go. 1942. Good job.